We are live.
Okay, thanks. We are live on Facebook. Hello, everybody. And I think we're a couple of minutes early, but feel free to jump on the Zoom. We have Anna Paulson here. She's an intuitive animal communicator. She does all kinds of healing work with them. And I'm going to let her tell you because the list is quite long, but she's really awesome. We're excited to have her here. We've already showed her our dogs and she has cats too, or she can talk about cats too, just for those cat lover people out there. I know we have some of those, but anyways, welcome, Anna.
Thank you.
How are you doing tonight?
I am doing great. And thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here.
All the way from Alberta, Canada, folks.
Woohoo! Yeah, I live in a little town called Blackie that's just outside of Calgary. And I live on a 150-acre spread that's dedicated solely to dogs. And, well, you know, there's a few cats kicking around, but solely dogs. And I'm really excited, especially now because we're fencing in probably about, I would say, another 10 acres. So I have about 30 acres now dedicated to the dogs. So, woo!
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into this? We were, talking a little bit ahead of time. It's always nice when we have a chance to talk. And I mean, you do some really interesting things. You've developed Reiki. You actually have some sound bowl healing things you're going to be doing with the people. We have several people watching, I know. And so you can kind of give us how you got into this and give us a little bit of the background. And
Sure. Dog lover from very early on, but could never have any pets due to allergies in my family. So as soon as I moved out of the house at a tender age of 18, I picked up a dog and a cat for myself. Volunteered tons at the Humane Society, always interested in dogs. And then, like most normal people, I got married and had a family and still had a bunch of dogs. And had to work part-time to support my family. And I was really struggling with that aspect of that, to leave my house and leave my dogs during the day while I was away. So I thought that maybe I should have a dog walking company, which was kind of like an unknown thing 22 years ago. There was another girl in town on the north side that was a dog walker. So I was very popular and I was very busy, and I was probably walking 30 to 40 dogs a day and just loving life. And one day my cat was sick and I took her to the vet, and they said that they needed to pull blood and that they would take her into the back. So I said, okay. And I handed her my cat, and I started to hear my cat screaming at me that it was under a lot of stress and it wanted out, and it was screaming for me to help it. I thought it was going crazy. So I got all worked up, and I was looking through the little holes in the vet window, and I could see that they were pulling blood. And the whole time I could hear my cat screaming at me to get it out of there. So I went home and thought that I was probably losing it. And but I realized that maybe there was something to this. And all my life, I'd always heard lots of dogs and cats and birds and wild animals. But I discredited them because, I thought it was just my silliness making it up. And but I started to realize that I could get all these dog behaviors without really doing too much training. And that intrigued me. And so I just kind of went along my merry way, and I never told anyone that I could hear them speaking because I thought people might think I was crazy. And my own family confirmed that, because when I voiced what was going on, my sister said, well, don't tell anybody that, they're gonna think you're a crummy trainer if you're talking like that. So I kind of, my older sister was really professional. I thought, I should probably listen to her. My sister said, well, don't tell anybody that. They're gonna think you're a crummy trainer if you're talking.
Where's the echo coming from?
Kind of, my sister was my older sister.
Somebody must be watching. If you're watching on your phone, please mute it.
Don't tell anybody that. They're gonna think you're a crummy trainer.
There. Thanks. Okay.
But I've always maintained that, their voices are the strongest. So I always listened to them when they came to training. And, the people would be telling me the stories, but I'd just be like smiling at them and nodding. But I was actually really listening to the story of the dog, because the dog never lied. And so I was able to change behaviors almost instantly this way. And so that was really exciting for me. I've also noticed a lot of times I would look at a dog and parts of its body would jump out at me. And I didn't really know what was going on. And then when I would touch the dog, I would feel like electricity coming through my palm of my hand in that area that I was drawn to when I touched the dog. So I started developing that, and I realized that what I was actually doing was releasing stored energy that was trapped in the body. And that can happen so easy if a dog, bumps into another dog, and maybe that's a bruise or something in the making. As soon as I would touch it, it would almost just dissolve under my hand. I could feel that. So that was pretty exciting. And so then I took Reiki to further develop that. And then I took an animal communication course and graduated in that. And now my newest thing that I've been doing for the last year is I'm using sound bowls, crystal sound bowls, to break up knots and move stored energy in the dog. And that's really exciting because I do it quite frequently, almost every day. And I see the same things happening with all the dogs. I have a boarding facility here. So sometimes I'll have like 25 dogs. And, sometimes they've got some stuff going on, whether it's, in their body or fears. And I've noticed that the bowls are really effective at releasing all that stuff. And like an example would be, I had a dog came and stayed with me, and she couldn't stand one of my dogs barking. It was probably too high pitched for her. And she would just run to the door when she heard that dog bark and scratch at the door furiously, trying to get out. So I took her in for a few sound baths, and I noticed that started to decrease. By the time she went home, she didn't care about anything. All dogs could be barking. It didn't bother her in the slightest. So the bowls actually released, and I think she might have had tendinitis, and the bowls released that. And the bowls are known to do that with people, so why wouldn't it do it with a dog? So that's a little bit of my journey.
And you left corporate America, right, to do all of this?
Oh yes, I left corporate America. I worked for the bank. I was a librarian at the investment banking bank in Canada, and I just phased myself out. And I had to work, 30 hours a week, and then I started my company, and I just went down to 29 to 28 before I knew it, I was coming in 1 hour a week, or then it got to maybe 2 hours every 2 weeks, and they were going, aren't you coming in anymore? And I was like, no, I don't think I am. I just, but it was kind of a tumultuous time because my husband had back surgery and he wasn't working. So he really didn't want me to quit my bank job because it was a steady income for us with benefits. And I said to him, okay, I promise I will not leave the bank until I'm getting equal pay. And it took me about 4 months to surpass what I was making and go on. So he was all, okay, whatever you want. And so I pretty well have taken over like the earning capability in my house. And all the things that we have, it was due to dogs and working with dogs.
Yeah.
So it's just
Well,
great.
that's a step in faith, right? You know, just saying, you know, I'll stay here, but I'm taking that, you know, you did it little by little. That was might have been small steps, but then, you know, you
Yeah.
stepped into it and just said it's going to take care of us. That's really cool. When you said about the bowls, is there like certain ones that you use, or can you use any of the bowls? Just out of curiosity.
There are, yes, I do go after chakras with the bowls. So I do notice that a lot of dogs that are like feeling aggressive or fearful, that is due to a blockage in some of the chakras along their spines. And it's typically going to be their ground chakra. They're not grounded, or they don't know who they are. So it's sacral or solar plexus. So it's going to be one of those usually. I do ring other bowls, but it's typically for the people, but I don't tell them that, right? Because like what we have to recognize is that we're the ones screwing up our dogs mostly. And we carry a lot of stuff, and they see it and they just reflect it right back to us. But a lot of people aren't open to that. So what I typically say is it's just for the dog, but you come on here, and I have two nice red chase lounges, and I say, just sit here, you two, your husband and wife, just sit here. And if the dog moves around, that's okay. And I'm just going to play for a few minutes. And typically I'll see them like they'll come stressed, but they'll leave relaxed. And so I know I've helped them, because if they can be relaxed, their dog can now be relaxed, right? So if I can clear up any stuff with people, I do go after that. So
I love that though. Come in for a dog consult, and then the people are getting it.
and
I like
it's
that.
really interesting, because people, I kind of wonder how people think that, because I'm a traditional trainer, but yet I'm throwing some of these odd things in. And it's most, I think the biggest skeptics are probably the women. The men are like, oh, wow, okay, and they just sit down and they accept it, where the women are like, what? Oh, okay. So, but it's really nice, because when they leave, they're leaving together, and they're leaving with tons of knowledge. They're feeling comfortable, and they're not at this point where a lot of people are with dog training, where they're just about ready to give up, right? They're so frustrated and angry or upset or disappointed with their dog. So this leaves them in a really nice balanced state of mind, and that's the objective for me.
Yeah, and that makes me think of what's like the biggest common mistake we make with our pets, because I do think we make mistakes, and then we tend to blame it on the dog when there's things that we are doing. So what's the biggest common mistake that you find when people bring their dogs in?
I think a lot of people put meanings behind normal dog behaviors, and like they would a child, and that they don't accept that the dog is a dog. And one of the things I always say is what we're working on here is a greedy, selfish carnivore. That's who you have in your house. That's who's sleeping in your bed, right? You have to recognize who you have so you can accept who you have, right? And it always goes with a chuckle. But if you think about it, that's who they are. It's all about them, what they can get out of us. They want the best places to sleep, the best food to eat, the funnest times outside. It's all about them. So if you look at it from that, from a training point of view of how can I make my dog better behaved, if I looked at it from their point of view, it would be so much easier to understand why they're doing some of the things they're doing, right? So I'm kind of, when I train people, and they, oh, my dog is digging and I just hate digging. And I said, well, really? Because digging is a natural behavior inherent to who you have here. So why not make them a digging pit in the backyard and make them successful instead of having them dig all over? And people think, oh, I never even thought of that. Because all they're thinking is, from their perspective, I hate you in my flower bed. Get out, right? So dogs are really easy to change behavior if we looked at it from their point of view.
I love that. And it's so true. And it's so simple, but we don't always think of it like that. Yeah, make them a digging place where he can go and do that. That's a good idea. If you guys got questions, raise your hand, put your little hand thing up, or chime in? Looks like Kitty's got a question.
Well, I was
Or
going to
comment?
say, because I know that you do a lot of intuitive tuning in with animals, like you said, cats and dogs. Like, what's some of the things that you try to, when you're helping an animal solve a problem? Or, and I have to apologize, I got up to leave because my other dog decided that he needed to see you, Anna, right then at the door.
Yay.
He was calling, so.
So, well, let's see. Some of the things that I might change. Okay, maybe a dog is soiling in the house, right? And they don't understand why. Why is your dog peeing all over the house? So that's a very interesting, and you're going to say, oh, it's easy because the dog's pissed off. But if you look at it deeper, there's usually the dog has picked up negativity in the house and it's trying to get rid of it. It's trying to get rid of it. It's trying to release it for us. And then, if you look at it from a dog training point of view, oh, well, you probably need to exercise your dog a little bit more. You probably need to clean up those areas where he might have peed before because he's getting drawn back. So your dog's unhappy about stuff. So, it's not just when I look at dog training, it's intuitive. Yes, you look at it from the mental, the physical, the spiritual. Like, it's so much more than just, why is my dog peeing? Because it has to go outside and I'm not opening the door. Right. So things like that, or like right now I'm working with a lady that actually has 30 cats and 2 dogs, and she's experiencing a lot of peeing in her house all of a sudden. So that's really interesting, right? Because you've got 2 different animals that are, getting upset with stuff that's happening in the house. And then once you start peeling the layers back, you find out, oh, there's a marital, it's not bliss anymore. And there's like uncertainty going on in the house, and there's money troubles going on in the house. So a lot of stresses that are being put onto the animals, and the animals are saying, hey, look at yourselves, look at. And the only way I can draw attention to myself is if I pee over here, because then you look at me and you come over and now you've got to deal with me. But see, we don't know how to deal. That's where we stop. That's where we hit the wall. So having that intuitiveness helps them, because I can understand what's going on. And so once we start talking about this and peeling it back, we can quickly resolve what and why these things are happening.
Yeah, so good point. So go deeper, not just at the surface, why they're doing it because they're naughty or something like that, but go deeper, dig in deeper to the meaning of some of their behaviors. I like that. That makes sense.
And a lot of things that we do to our pets is we try to suppress behaviors. We don't want them barking. We don't want them scratching on the furniture. We don't want a lot of the behaviors that are so natural to them. Yeah. We try to shut them down. But it's like, I don't understand that, because I want to redirect it and let them have that avenue to release that stress that they're feeling, because it's natural for them to do those things to relieve stress. And when we take that away, what happens to the stress? Where does that go? Right? So it's really important that we look at it from their point of view instead of, how they fit into our lives. If you can imagine, I had a woman that wanted to surrender her dog to me because it didn't match the couch anymore.
Oh,
right. And it's like, there's this level of disconnect that goes on with some people and their animals. And our animals are trying so hard to tell us stuff. And, we're just not listening. And some of us are better than others. And some of us are willing to learn. But some of us refuse to see. We just refuse to see. And maybe that's because it's too painful. It's too painful to see that my dog may be uncomfortable because it's something I'm doing. That may be a hard pill to swallow for some.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I want to ask your opinion. Like, how much do they know when we're communicating to them? Because I'll tell you a little story. My dog likes to sniff. Obviously, he is a dog. And so he sniffs all over. And sometimes, I'm trying to redirect him, it's time to go back in and, in the house, go back towards the house and this kind of stuff. But just like probably a week ago, when I say, come on, let's go to the house, and he starts to go that way, I've been like, thank you for coming to the house. And I thought, okay, that really seems like it's working. So, I mean, I don't know, but it seems like it's working. He's responding to maybe not the thank you, but maybe just the energy, or what
Yeah,
would you?
they're really good about looking at our energy and evaluating us, like, because they're hunters. And hunters, that's what they're doing. They're looking for their next meal. So they're so versed in hunting techniques, but we don't let them hunt. So they replace the deer with us. What's she doing? Is she getting up? Is she going to the kitchen? Should I move? Right? But they're constantly watching us because they're quite aware of what we can do for them. Right? So it pays to pay attention to us. And
Okay,
I think
that makes
that
sense.
you have to understand that most dogs have a mentality of about a 2 to 3 year old child once they're mature. There are some that are far above that. And those tend to be the old soul dogs that have come back, because dogs do die and choose to come back. Some of them choose it because they've had such a great life here. Some of them choose it because they have not fulfilled the reason why they came in the first place, because they have soul missions just like us. But most of them tie their soul missions to us. So, oh, look at, there's Anna down there. She's going to need some help. I can see that she's not very patient. So I'm going to go down there and be a dog for her, and I'm going to teach her patience. Right? And so now she can see that, and now I can help her to ascend. Right? So
That's beautiful.
I just think that we really have to look at all the gifts that they give us and be appreciative of that, because a lot of us just don't see it, right? And they just see it like a nice little fluffy sitting beside us as we pet, but there's so much more. And that to me is just amazing. And I want to tell you, I have seen dogs that have passed over, and cats, and we don't have to worry about that, because whatever it is that they love is there times 100. And I'm going to give you an example with my own dog who just passed about 2 months ago. And, I could see him dying. I could see him losing his life, and slowly the light was coming out of him. And I, some of my people said I should just euthanize him because he was dying and it would take him out of pain. And I thought, but that's not really what living's about. There's pain involved with living. And pain is like part of birth, and pain is part of death. And if you don't go through those moments, how do you ascend? How do you complete your life mission? And what if your life mission is to help me face death, and I just run you to the vet without a thought? And so I think it's really important to be present. And so what I learned from my dog was how to be present, because he was dying. So I never left his side. I always was with him. I was very conscious of everything that was going on, the food he was having, the environment I was placing him in, the exercise that he was getting. And I could see that he was getting really close. So I started playing my bowls, because I wanted him to be able to transition and to release himself from his body. And so I put all my bowls around him, and I played one night, and then the next night I played again. And that morning I was pretty sure that was going to be the end. He was going to let go. And so I just kept him upstairs with me, and I had him again surrounded by the bowls. And, it was so beautiful because I could see each stage he was going through, and I was there to support him. And that was so important to me. I was there when he drew his last breath. I was there when he released himself. And I went to bed. And that morning I did a meditation the next morning. And I saw him in the forest. And he had come from up north in a very forested area. He had been flown, has a young puppy on a private plane down to Calgary. And he was put with another dog. He was overplayed and he collapsed. He collapsed. As a puppy, he collapsed. It was too much stress. And so I begged the people to give him to me because he was under so much stress and I knew that I could help him. So after 2 years, they said, yeah, you take him because we can't do a thing with him. He's just hiding behind the bed. Okay, back to the story. So he's in the forest and it smells so good, like pines and junipers and all wonderful greenery. And I take a step and I'm on this mossy carpet that's like thick, thick, thick. And as I take each step, it's so beautiful, like so comforting. You know, each step is like I'm walking on a pillow. And he looks at me and smiles and he runs through the trees and I'm trying to keep up with him. And I see him go through an opening where the light is shining through the forest. And I find the opening and I see that he's run down a little embankment and that there's a river there. And I think, oh, isn't that weird? He hated the water. Why is he going to the river? And I get down and I see him and the river has turned into a beautiful still pond. And I look and I see the dog is looking across the pond and he's looking at this man who has just cast his line and he has a smile and I know he's so happy because he's found the right place for his line. And my dog looks at him and says, "Hey!" And he looks up and he goes, "Hey!" And there's this connection between the two of them, like it's like a green ribbon that connects their heart. And my dog happily kicks his back feet and runs back into the forest. And I look at the man, and the man was his original owner that has been passed away for 6 years now.
Oh,
And
my.
it was so gratifying to me because, you know, I know we're like this. Like, what happens to our dogs? Where do they go? I never will worry a moment about him. Not a moment, because I know he's right where he needs to be. So that was like so happy. And I was able to actually go back to the woman and say, guess what? I just saw Al. And guess what he's doing? Fishing. Because that's what he loved to do. Right?
Oh, wow.
So it was so beautiful. And when I have moments like that, where I'm able to connect with dogs that have passed or cats, I think that that's such a wonderful gift that I can give to people because now we don't have to worry. You don't have to worry where they are, or what they're doing, or if there's a heaven, or right. There is a heaven and they're waiting there for us. Right. And so, and they'll wait there and they'll be happy in the meantime.
That must help you so much with dogs right now then too, because you know that there's a continuum. And so one of my questions is, so when you get a dog, either especially an older dog, but even a puppy, what are some gifts or things that you can start to set up when you get a new animal? I mean, I know some of it depends, like, have I got it from a shelter, but like, let's say a puppy, like what's some of the ways, because you have that intuitiveness that you can approach working with them?
Right. So always with a puppy, the first thing I'm looking at is developing a deep relationship. And so I look at that young dog and I think, what floats your boat? Because I'm in charge of all those things and I'm sharing, right? And through kindness and consistency, where the dogs can see that there's a routine and that they know what to expect from us, that reduces their stress. And you know, the key has to be for all dogs, all animals, reducing stress. What can I do to reduce stress? Because the more your dog can be relaxed, the better of a pet it's going to be for you.
So just starting that relationship, like with any, what about when you rescue a dog? Is there something different you take a look at, or?
Right. When I look at a rescue, the first thing I do is I work on the energy system of the dog, because I know it's going to be compromised. How couldn't it be? How couldn't you be holding stuff in your body? Stress. And typically it's going to be the lower 3 chakras, because I'm worried about, am I getting enough food? I'm worried about my safety. I'm worried about me. What's going to happen to me? Well, those are our first 3 chakras. So those are the things I go after. So I start with the bowls to break things up. And then I work in with energy. And that's typically touch. I do T-touch, Reiki, just energy work. I never know what's going to happen under my hand. I never know. I look and say, ooh, I can see it looks like the second chakra is going on there. There's a plug. But it's not until I put my hand on it that it's confirmed. I'll be watching that dog and I'll be saying, because sometimes dogs don't want to be touched, right? So I'll be saying, I can hardly wait to touch your dog. Right? But in the meantime, I'm going to play some bowls here. Can you sit down? So my goal is always reducing stress and to stop forcing them through stuff.
You mean, explain that a little bit.
Okay. I had a lady who just came to see me with a German Shepherd that was right off the wall. They were trying so hard to make the dog fit into their life that they were pushing it through things that were terrifying to it. And the more they pushed the dog through the terrifying things, the worse the dog got. But they couldn't see that. They couldn't see how they were betraying the dog. They couldn't understand when I said, whoa, you know, you're the first love of your dog. You need to support your dog. But here you are throwing it off the edge of the dock constantly. How can the dog trust you? How can the dog know that you're going to take care of it when push comes to shove? It can't. So it has to step in front of you, and it has to be aggressive or dominant or something to make the scary things go away, because you're not taking care of it the way it needs. So had they understood that relationship part, because when you develop a deep relationship with your pet trusts you. There's understandings that happen. There's like, did I just hear that? How do I know my dog is hungry? How do I know my dog wants to go for a walk? It's like intuitive for you because you have a deep relationship.
Oh, very cool.
So how do you, do cats get stressed? I mean,
Yes.
how do you keep
I've got a stressed out cat. Yeah. So I've got 4 cats. And 2 of them came from farms that if we didn't take them, they were just going to be drowned. So we took them. This one cat has no love for anybody other than my husband. And I can't even go into the room without her like telling me off. So we had one cat that, and then I thought, you know, then we went horseback riding to this farm and they were going to destroy all these cats. We said, oh, we'll take another one. And so we had the 2 and they were fighting terribly. So we had to separate them and put one upstairs and one downstairs. Then we got a 3rd cat and she travels up and down between. But since she's come, the downstairs cat is gotten very territorial and very upset with this cat. And she's doing stuff that's, I don't like it. She's peeing on the window ledge if she sees that cat, because my husband puts her food up there. If that cat's going to come up and eat, she's got to claim it. So yeah, she gets pretty upset. So it was interesting. I was saying to my husband just the other day, geez, you know, that peeing, like, I don't know how you can live down there. I don't know about that. And it was just this little conversation we were having. He said, well, why don't you ask her? And I said, oh yeah, I guess I should. Because I just like knew intuitively what was going on. I didn't feel like I needed to have a conversation with her because I already knew what was going on. And so like what I said to my husband, if you could just shut the door, she's got her kitty litter in here, and she's got her food in here, and she's got you in here. So if you're not in here, shut the door. She'll be happy. That's all she wants is her own space. So since that's happened, peeing stopped. Right.
Wow. It's very interesting to listen to this, thought, this very intuitive approach that we would probably use. And like you said, not to assign our own thoughts and things to it. Just out of curiosity, have you ever had animals come back and visit you from the other side, like that they're there or they affect the other animals? Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, I had one dog that stayed in my energy for quite a while, and I noticed the dogs were barking at nothing. but I asked him to leave actually because he was upsetting the other dogs. So we talked about where he should go, and yeah, he went, and I actually saw him. So it was interesting because he actually had died on the table with the surgeon, and so it was a very abrupt way for him to leave. So it was interesting is that I walked another dog that was put to sleep on the Saturday. On the Sunday, my dog needed emergency surgery for a bleeder, and he ended up dying. But when I connected, I saw the first dog that was his friend, and she was on this grassy hill looking around like, where is everyone? Just like that. And I saw my dog come through the curtain. And it was the most amazing thing to see him. So it was just like, here's the curtain, and his nose came out and the rest of his body. And I was like, wow, because I'd never seen that. So he kind of gave me a little gift there. So it's kind of amazing what they can show you. And they are showing me what the next life is. So that to me is just beautiful, just to know that when I die, I'm going to have like 50 friends or maybe more. I think of all the dogs I've touched over my 30 years.
We had someone on Facebook say she kind of felt bad about euthanizing her dog. Should have left, because you had said about the last experience. Do you have some kind of guideline for people? Like I know I euthanized my last dog, but she had such a growth, she wasn't breathing, and she was really, I really felt like she was trying to hold on for me. She was suffering, yeah. So
I think that that's a really
because I mean, if
individual.
if I were myself in a hospital, I would want them to, they're not allowed to, but I would want them to put me asleep until I was gone rather than suffering.
You're right. Yeah. And I mean, that is an option for you, right? To medicate. Because that was my option, was I medicated because I didn't want to see my dog in pain, but I felt that it was necessary to be with my dog right up to the end, right? Like I had been all along. I'm not prepared to take my dog into the vet and hand my dog over and my dog being like, what's going on? I'm not prepared for that. I didn't sign up for that. For like better for worse with dogs, right? It's like I've had dogs that are so aggressive that I've had to like modify their behavior. And yes, it's been really hard, but I don't know, with those hard things came so much knowledge and so much growth for both of us. So I think when a dog is passing, you start to see, you see the weakness, you see maybe the, pain starting. So I address the pain. But once I realize that my dog is pain free, then it becomes, now we're together for the rest of the journey. And I used to be like, think that if my dog was, old, the best thing I could do was to stop it from suffering. But it goes back to my belief is I think suffering is part of our journey. And I think that our dogs have souls and they too need to go through a journey, and we may be taking part of that journey away from them by assuming that they want to be put to sleep, because that may not be the case for every animal.
Yeah,
And so having that intuitive communicator can help you to discern, is it really time? Is this really what your dog wants or not? Right? Because I asked Nikki, that was the dog that just passed. I asked him, do you want me to do that? And he said, no, he didn't want. He wanted to die at home. He wanted to die with me. And he wanted to die with respect. And he wanted to be in peace. And that's what he gave. He was surrounded by us, all the people that loved him, holding him till his last breath.
I think that's a great guideline, because I know with mine, she would just look at me and I could almost hear her say, I'm really done, Mom. I'm just done. So, do we have any questions out there for people? I find this so fascinating.
I know. I want, people ask questions.
I'm going to change the view. I just think that this gives me a whole new way to even talk to my dogs, who have now decided they're going to sleep right on me as we're doing this because of the energy. So, but like I said, they know that they're going to be separated soon. So, anyone have any questions?
Now, there are people that there are people that specialize in dying animals.
Yes, first of all, people that adopt the senior dogs and help them all pass over, God love those people. That I have a cousin that's what she wants to do, is rescue those senior dogs and help them pass over. But anyway, Sherry, you had a question?
Yeah. I have a Yorkie that I got. She was 3 and I got her from the Humane Society. Her owner had died. Well, when I got her, my mom had just died, which probably wasn't the best time to get a dog. And so I was hard on her, not mean to her, but hard on her. Like I wanted her to heel when she walked, and I was hard on her. And so she really she tolerates me, I guess, to this day. But I'm real good to her, and she'll just I'll try to pick her up to get on my chair with me, and she'll back up, and then she'll come forward, and then she'll back up when I reach for her again. And I just don't know, how can you repair a relationship with a dog?
Well, that's a good question, Sherry. When we violate a dog, and listen, a violation for a dog can look like the most simplest thing, like pulling her on a leash, pulling her along. That can set up a violation for the dog, where I don't want to walk anymore. I don't want a leash anymore. I don't want to collar anymore. So in just one time, that can happen. So now you've got a period of time where you don't know what happened before, and then you've got a little cloudy area. So what I want to do is I want her to love my hands. So I might start hand feeding her. If my hands mean good things, then I can't be afraid of them. The other thing is, when you stroke her, when you get the opportunity to stroke her, I want you to turn your hand around and stroke her with the back of your hand, not the front, because the front is meaning for her, you're going to get me. You're going to get me, and I don't want that. So if I present my hand so that it's not a negative, and it's just, I can't grab you like this, and then I'm going to hand feed her, right? And then I'm going to try to get down on her level, and I'm going to play with her, because play can remove a lot of stuff. And Yorkies are really gamey, and they love games. So you can entice her to fall back in love with you and trust your hands that way.
Well, I've never spanked her or anything. But you know, I was yelling at her because she wouldn't mind me, and I was pulling her on the leash and stuff, and I was just too hard on her. She was new, she was scared, you know. Hindsight's 2020. But she adores my husband, you know, she just adores him. And she'll be nice to me, I think, when she knows that she's upset me or gone too far.
Now, there is another thing that's going on as well, is she's actually fallen in love with your husband and she's tolerating you. So that's not unusual for a female in the house, a female dog, to bond with the male and just tolerate the other people. And vice versa. A male will often bond with the mother of the house because that's the
Okay.
nurturer, that's the caregiver, right? And
Well,
you
I'm
were,
basically her bitch.
yeah, you weren't in a position to be what she needed when she came into the house. So her love was, her bond is almost, sometimes when dogs are coming through hardships, they over attach. Does that make sense? Like they over attach to somebody. And so they don't give anybody else
Yeah.
any care. It's like, yeah, you're there, but I love
Mhm.
him. I love him. Oh,
Well,
no,
you know,
only
it's
him.
like
Where's
I'm
him?
the one that feeds her, I'm the one that does all this stuff for her, but he's her love, you know.
Mhm.
So I didn't know if it was a matter of just, you know, I screwed up, or partly that, you know, maybe you say that they just prefer a man.
Yeah. So part of it is forgiving yourself and releasing that guilt because that's projected for her. So if you can release that and then just go to the soft part of you, because that's who she needs. That soft part that's hidden inside your heart, that's the part you need to expose so that she can trust again.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
You brought your bowl. Several of us have our animals here. Would you like to play a little bit for us? Unless we have some
I
other
will.
questions. But I would love, I've got two
Why
animals.
don't I play the bulls at the end and then you can sign off when you want to?
Okay. All right.
Well,
That
that's a
would
good
be great.
idea. Any other questions? Marsha? Jenny? Anybody? Jackie? Sharon?
Okay, what about thunder anxiety?
Oh,
Thunder anxiety. So that again is noise sensitivity. Now that can be brought on by a bunch of things like early spay or neutering can set up your dog for noise sensitivities. And 50% of fear can be brought on by the mother. So when you have a dog that's experiencing stuff like that, if you don't know the lineage of the dog, you have to start working from a different angle. So you could get a thunder jacket, or you could just use elastic bandages and make like a figure 8 around the neck, cross over the back, tie it up underneath the stomach. What we're trying to do is you're trying to put pressure on the energy systems, because what happens with thunder is that the atmosphere is charged. So it's not just the sound, it's the atmosphere.
mhm.
So if you can get your dog into like the basement, which is usually cement, that can reduce that anxiety. The thunder jacket, or making, and this is like part of T-Touch, you could learn Reiki. I think every pet parent should learn Reiki. It's so easy, and you could offer so much to your animal to help them to relax with simple touch. And with that simple touch, a few movements in specific areas around the chest, back of the head, rump, can help the dog relax. there's also the component, and it depends on the age of your dog. Sometimes older dogs, their eardrums start to dry out. And so sounds become harsher. And so sometimes just putting a nice cleaning solution that can condition the ear can help that problem. If you have sound bowls, that can help that problem.
Well, there's an excuse.
Yeah, there's an excuse.
Have your vet write you a prescription.
Uh,
And if your dog is really anxious, you could even get like headsets, like they use at the airport,
oh,
right? That are made specifically for dogs. So there's a lot of answers out there.
okay.
One of the things that people say is when your dog's showing fear, it's just to ignore them. But I don't agree with that. Listen, if I'm afraid, I'm afraid. Somebody help me here. Don't leave me hanging because I don't know what's happening. Like I'm feeling this dense pressure on my body. I'm hearing low rumbling. I don't know where it's coming from. Those are real fears. So for us to say, yeah, just go lay down, you're fine, that's not going to cut it. You could get your dog used to the sound also by playing like low, if you could get a tape of thunder and just put it at 1 and play it so you can't even really hear it. And every few days you're playing it, but you're turning it up one notch at a time so that it's hardly audible to us, but your dog will hear it. And then
Okay.
during that time, if your dog can focus on you, this is when you're going to do training or do play, something fun. So your dog starts to go, oh, wow, that's just the sound. Like, that's
Okay.
just the tree. Like, that's just the bird. I don't have to be afraid of it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I just had a friend adopted, the owner passed away and she adopted the dog, and that is one of the things she has is thunder. So, and he's about 6 or 7 too, so even the ear, but that's very helpful. Anyone else have a question? Marcia, you had unmuted before.
Sharon does.
Yes. I just recently got a shelter cat. So what is, it's not that she's afraid of me, but it's just like when I go to try to pet her, she like her whole body just ducks. But if I'm in the bathroom, she lays right at my feet and gives me belly and says, pet me. So I'm not sure what to do because I want her to understand that you're going to get petted for me, whether you like it or not. So just adjust to it. But I don't know if I should go about it differently. So she's not
I would.
coming at me.
I would. And your last statement says it all, if you think about it. You're going to get petted whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Right? So it's we have to stop thinking that animals are here for our pleasure. And when they show resistance to stuff, it's because they have a reason. So whether it is your energy is too strong, your touch is too heavy, you're intimidating her, I don't know. But in the bathroom, she's learned that you don't move. So that's predictable.
Mhm.
You're more gentle because you're busy, right? So she's learned that that's a safe place, but she hasn't made that generalization in other areas of your home. So if you can take her into a smaller room and do like what you do in the bathroom, where you just sit down and you just wait for her to come to you. One way that you could help her as well would be to play with her,
I do.
to build a relationship with her based on trust,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Because I was told she was a stray, but then I was told she was owner surrender. So I think she might have been a little bit of both, because the first time I opened that can, whoosh, she was right in there. Meow, 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 meow. I'm like, oh, so you know what canned food is. But even like when I wake up in the morning, she's right behind me. So I mean, she's comfortable enough now, because I've only had her maybe 4 weeks, that she gets up in the bed. And my other cat, they're playing famously together now. It's just, and I'm sitting in a chair in my living room when she walks by. So I always have my hand out. So it just goes down her back and up her tail, but she shrinks. So I don't know, maybe I should flip my hand over like you were talking to do with the dogs.
And lighten your
That's
touch. No, it's the same. And lighten your touch, and really lighten your touch like feather-like weight,
Mhm.
right? Especially for cats that may have been feral. And you know, the thing is, that cat was surrendered. It was probably hardly touched. It feels like it was hardly touched to me. So for some animals, if we don't touch them in the early stages of their lives, this is foreign to them. It feels terrible. Now, what you could do if your cat liked kitty treats is you could present a treat and then run your back of the hand gently down her back. Now, when a cat really loves you and trusts you, you're able to lightly take your finger from the tip of her nose and run it all the way down her spine, down her tail, right to the end. And you're almost, you know how their curve at the tail, they have a little curve. You're going to take your finger and you're going to kind of like, here's my little tail. I'm just going to do that. See that?
Mhm.
And that really helps cats get a sense for their body, like who they are inside of this cat suit, who they are and how long they are and how the energy is traveling through them. Because often there's like a disconnect from the brain and the body. And so it almost sounds like she hears you coming and then whoa, it's like, I'm uncomfortable. So I want to kind of split it up. I'm going to make her comfortable with soft touch and I'm going to reward her. So if she doesn't like cat treats, I might like have a little bit of tuna where I'm feeding her and like whatever she likes, because she'll tell you what she likes. I mean, and that's the thing. We're always trying to push what we think they like, but we never give them the consideration of what they might like. And so, hey, I'm going to touch you, right? Hey, I'm going to pick you up. So I'm going to tell you before I do stuff so I can give your body the chance to get rigid or prepare for this. And like, I know I got little dogs. Sometimes I just want to pick them up and take them out of stuff. But what I recognize is that a lot of times I'm messing with them. Like they're here and then all of a sudden they're gone and they're like, what the hell? I was just about to tell that dog off. And here I've come, and instead of me helping work through that, I just removed the dog from the situation. So I haven't done my dog any favors. I haven't let it deal with this situation, which it was probably more than competent to do. I might have just been like, I don't want to deal with this problem. I don't want you arguing, so I'm just going to separate you. When really, I should be there counseling. I should be there speaking about what I really want from them instead of dictating because I'm the person and I feed you and I pay for everything. So it's just a different way of looking at it. And because I work with dogs and I have so many dogs, I actually have my dogs working for me. And each dog does different things because they're all different individuals. So I got a dog from a drug den who was so aggressive and she was eating everybody and everything in her path. I needed to make her responsible. I needed to give her work to build up her self-esteem and her confidence. So she's actually my lead dog now. And she's very, very good with all dogs. She tells them about the rules of the house. She breaks up fights. I've trained her to find dog poop for me. Yeah. I know that might sound like, well, that's not a big deal. There, you know.
Oh, yeah, it is.
But yeah, I think it's pretty cool because if I got 15 dogs, I'm bound to be missing a few poops, right? But she goes over, she sits, she marks it. If I'm like across the field, I'm like, what is she doing? Why isn't she here? She will pick up the poop, throw it in the air, so that she knows I'm going to be like, holy shit, you're not going to eat that, are you? And I hustle
Oh my
over.
God, that's so
So she plays me. But like, what a great dog. Like, she's so super. So like everyone, I've got a little dog here. Hi, baby. Can I pick you up? Hey, baby. This is Allie. She's a little healer. So what I noticed about Allie is when people come over, if they got some stuff, she runs over to them, and she has this one word that she's really good at. Up! So if she gets picked up, I can see her working on people, pulling crap out of them. It's amazing. Like every dog that lives with me has a job, and they need to have a job to feel good about themselves.
we're coming to the end of our time, but I know Sharon, you had a question. So I want to make sure you get it in before we go to the bowls. Sharon, there she is.
It's Karen, and no, I
I'm
got
sorry,
it answered in
sorry.
the last one.
Pardon? Say that-
I got it answered in the last one.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. But Karen, I love the name spelling then.
I do too.
Oh, that's such a cool thing about having different jobs, and you know, I really like that. Good
Any
job.
questions about your dogs? Kitty, Amy?
I have a
grab him.
Whippet Dachshund mix. You've met him before, Jack. I'm
Oh,
sorry, Jack. And he's a little skittish. But I think he came that way. I accept him, but is there anything I can do to help him with that? I mean, once he warms up, he's great, but he's definitely you want to lay back down? Okay. You know, so. Is
well,
there, I mean,
there's
he just
the
tends to
things
be skittish.
the things that you'd like to do with him would just be to keep his mind fresh. So, like easy training, build up confidence and self-esteem. So, and make him successful. There's no wrong. There's no wrong. It's just, if he's doing something you don't like, just interrupt him and redirect him to what you want. And then reward what you want. Because now he knows what you want and he can do more of what you want instead of questioning the gray areas and then worrying. Because he feels like he's a bit of a worrier to me.
He is. That's his skittishness. He checks everything out, new people. Yeah.
So the more that you can build his self-esteem, the more his confidence will go up. So when he's put in these new situations, he's a little more solid, that he can deal with stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Hank, what do you need? What
Hank
does
likes
Hank
poop.
need? Hey, Hank's kind of a drama queen.
In which way?
Well, I don't know. I just feel like he like overreacts a lot. I don't know. I don't know.
This feels like it's more something about you than him.
Oh, he doesn't do that?
No. It feels like he gets overwhelmed quickly and then he throws out behaviors. And so if you can stay calm and offer him counsel during these times, that would help him.
Okay.
So, yeah. And drama is really just about fear for him.
Yeah.
And so, it's you can never eliminate fear, but I can look at what these triggers are of fear and then go after those things to help eliminate, reduce, and make him relax about them. And the more I can make him relax, the less likely he is to throw out those dramatic behaviors.
Okay.
But really
One more
bringing
question.
him, But bringing him back to you during those times where you're seeing him have the drama, taking control of the situation, having him come back to you and being under, like, attentive to you will help him move through those things.
Okay. 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 All right.
Oh,
I had
we got
one more
another
quick
dog.
question.
Oh,
What's your
That's
question, Sherry?
That's perfect.
Okay. I catch my dog Apple when I was talking about looking at me all the time. But whenever I'm looking back at her, she's real shifty with her eyes. She looks from side to side and she just won't really look at me. Does that make sense?
Yep. So you have a strong personality and she doesn't want to challenge you at all. And so if you look at her and she were to stare back at you, she would feel like she is challenging you, and she's already seeing how strict, tough you are, and she wants no part of that. So she will not challenge you. So that's why she will look away.
Okay.
You can build on that by taking a cookie and putting it right here in front of your face and say, look. And so she's not really, she's going to go, wait, what's that you got? Right? The cookie. And she's going to look here. After 3 or 4 times, this is my look. After 3 or 4 times, she's going to start to think, oh, I'm going to look because I'm going to get a cookie. So what we have to do is take the pressure off the eye contact. I'm not going to kill you. I just want to give you a cookie. But you have to earn the trust. Right? And so once she feels that she can trust you, and listen, it's not just you. There's a lot of dogs that don't want to be looked at. But we stare at them because they're so cute. Or they're doing something bad. Or they might be vicious and you're like, oh my God, you know. But the more we look at them, the more we intimidate them. So if we're going to look at them, we better make it rewarding for them so that they can handle it, because otherwise we're just stressing them out.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, we've run over, but so thank you so much, Anna. It was wonderful.
Thank you for
and we're
having
gonna,
me.
and I'm sure you'll get some people to follow up because we'll upload this and play, but you're gonna play us out, right? And
I will.
Okay.
yes. Yay.
Yay.
So welcome to the bowls. I just want you to kick back and relax. If your pet gets up and leaves the room, it's okay. Don't force them back. This is, it's for them, but it's also for you, because like I said, if I can help relax you, I can help relax your pet. Okay? Okay. Thank you.
Oh, it disappeared. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Intuition, the soul. My dog's over here singing.
I don't know where my dog went.
Thank you, Anna. We really appreciate it.